Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Whoa, I got my own echo on. Turn that right back off so I don't have to listen to myself. Okay, tonight we're going to dive back into the material design project for just a little bit. There's some open PRs and things that I want to clear through. I want to finish out the combo box thing that we started last time and get that rocking and rolling. And then I've got a crazy idea for a new project that I want to build. It's kind of weird. Source generator and source generators. It feels like it should be wrong, but yet I found a use case where I want it, or at least I think I want it, and so I want to see if it's viable. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna see where things land, to see how things go. For anybody interested, there is a video that I did with Chet Husk. I know I talked about it last week. It came out last Friday. So for people who don't know Chet, he works with MS Build, a lot of the .NET CLI SDK tooling. If you've used the image publishing and the .NET Publish command, you'll know his work. You've probably used his work without realizing it, given how foundational a lot of the stuff is. So that is live out on my interviews playlist. Link in the chat for anybody interested. I've also got one coming out tomorrow from Stephen Cleary. If anybody's done searching online for like async and await related stuff, you've probably come across his blogs. They're pretty prolific. And so that rolls out tomorrow morning. Okay, with that said, let's dive back in. Obviously, I installed a brand new update immediately because that, as one does, you install the updates as soon as they come. So let's pick this up here. So I believe we are fixed now from last time. I did want to highlight one thing. So I just grabbed the latest insiders build. So for people interested about Microsoft Visual Studio, 11.904.113 for what it's worth. But the new agent preview. So just to add a little clarity around this for anybody looking at it, going agent preview, what's up with that? There is the Copilot SDK, and when Copilot was first introduced, all of the tools kind of just rolled their own client. Obviously, a lot of it happens on the back end on the server, and they could share that. But the client experience was kind of very disjointed depending on whether you were in VS Code, CLI, Visual Studio, all of the things, right? And so what they have been pushing for is to get all of the client experiences leveraging the Copilot SDK, which is a library you can reference as well if you want. But that way there's a very consistent experience and similar capabilities. Obviously, all of the Copilots are going to have their own flavors. The Visual Studio one is going to have all of the Visual Studio integration bits to it that don't make sense in other Copilot experiences. So that will still be a thing. But that is what the new agent preview is. And should be, in my opinion, a lot better. So if you are diving into it, just be aware that there's that. And then obviously new tracking stuff. I had to laugh a little bit. I think this part of the screenshot is wrong, specifically because inline suggestions, I believe, are expected to be free under most plans. So I don't know if this is because it's showing a Copilot free usage, but I think even on like the Pro and Pro Plus and all of those plans, don't quote me on this, I think the autocomplete and suggestions are free, but I could be wrong. Obviously, the monthly limit is what most people care about in terms of token spend, token usage, and that kind of thing. Okay, so we are going to jump in here. Last time we got distracted because we were running into problems with not being able to leverage the properties on ComboBox pop-up. And it was specifically because of a bug in XAML test. Now, we fixed that bug last time, and we pushed out a release. And so in theory, what should be happening now is we should actually now be able to go through and write this test and have it work the way I would expect. So specifically, and I'm just going to go jump to the combo box test. I'll just go show it there. That's probably the easier way. Let's see, combo boxes, combo box test. Then what was the name of this? Combo box uses drop down background resource. That is not showing up, so let's just jump to combo box tests. I'm guessing it's because I was bouncing between projects and it lost its mind. in all of this. So this should currently is going to fail to compile because it is trying to do the visual element bit. But my expectation, yeah, I understand you're unhappy. My expectation is I should be able to do manage NuGet package, rev the XAML test installed version, and actually maybe rather than just doing XAML test, let's do all the things. Why not? Let's do all the things. Wait, do we really have a consolidate one? Do I have different versions installed on different packages? Oh, I do. That's dumb. Let's get them all up on the same version. Yeah. There any reason not to go to latest? I think not. And then we will just rev all of these things forward. Yeah, I understand. You're going to be unhappy for a moment. Yeah. Oh, are you going to give me crap because of this? Here, let me make it easier for you, NuGet. Install all the things. What is going on? Why are you not... Like I said, I did just install the latest Visual Studio update because obviously you do that right before you start a stream because why not? I'd like to just do install the version and have it go. Okay, you're going to be a pain in the neck, huh? Let's see here. Well, at minimum, if I run the update, it should grab them all as well. I do wonder if one of these is... There's actually an error on one of these, and that's actually what's causing me the problems, but hopefully it just revs it. And what I expect to see is a directory packages props update and not a lot of CS-proj updates, except for one, because the fact that it had multiple versions sort of implies that there was a issue with specific versions being pinned elsewhere. Did you not update? Do all the things. Why are you giving me crap about this? Come on. Why are you being so dumb, NuGet? Okay, you're gonna make me do this the hard way, aren't you? Update. If you make me do this by hand, I'm gonna be a little annoyed. Okay. I am wondering if that one polyfill one is actually what's causing the thing to choke. I'm wondering if because it's been overridden on individual packages, if it is causing problems. So we're going to turn it off for the moment. Just see if it'll rev the other ones, and then I'm going to go rev that thing independently. Why do we have NewtonSoft still here? I thought we killed off NewtonSoft. Might have to go see why I'm... Okay. Update, please. Okay, what are you doing? I really feel like this NuGet screen needs a refresh. It is not kept up with a lot of... You know what? Let's go and do... code analysis analyzers. Let's see here. We're just going to do this. 530. Okay. And then we are just going to do this very manually because you are being a pain in the neck. There. Go all together because I know you guys all have interdependencies and it gets wacky. So do that. Okay, I'm going to do all of my packages together because I know them and I know what they do. So let's rev those. Why are you having a problem on my package? Okay, fine. You're going to be dumb. XAML test 131. I can do this the hard way if you want to do that to me. Yeah. Let's see. Show me the XAML 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. Just going to rev all of those together. Boom. Boom. There. Anything else you want to show me? Okay. I know why we're including value tuple because we target older frameworks and we have to because value tuple doesn't exist in older .NET framework versions, but you can bring it in as a package. It's effectively a Microsoft polyfill. Let's see, that's fine. Do this, let's do this. Will you update those for me? Yeah, do it. Great, thank you. And then I would like to just polyfill all the way in on the whole thing. Okay. Ten eight one. Okay. 10.8.1. Okay. Now it should probably show consolidate and or if it's not, I'm going to be impressed. It does concern me that some of those things are showing errors, but okay, so good. That's oh, it doesn't support. Okay. Um, this is mildly obnoxious. So this is the auto-generated polyfill, but it's polyfilling to the new extension syntax. Why? Hang on. Something isn't jiving for me really quick. And this should be able to be 300 at this point, right? I think what this is. Sorry, we're gonna just check real quick. .NET -- list SDKs. Yeah, 10.0.301. We're gonna bump that sucker up because that's should be what the build pipeline's already using anyway. And we shouldn't need all of these anymore, but we're gonna hold on that for a moment. Why are you? Oh, I bet you I know what happened. Did it? Okay, let's go here and on the polyfills, let's just dial it down. Where is it? Virtualizing polyfill. Let's just discard that one line for the moment because I don't want to deal with it. I'm gonna have enough stuff to deal with, and I suspect that will fix part of my issue. Let's see, async void methods. Wait, what is banning async voids? T-unit? No. No, absolutely not. This is absolutely going to be allowed inside of a UI-based project. Though I've got one too many parens here, so we can take one of those out. So thank you for highlighting that for me. But we are absolutely going to allow that. Why did that? Okay. Let's come in here and I need to disable packages, T-unit. And there should be not in no, it's up under analyzers. T-unit analyzers. Nope. Assertion analyzers. Code fixers. Where are you? I want to just turn it off. Well, hang on. Let's get this through here. Let's see. Is close to call is ambiguous. Did I move this into some? Okay. Why I'm very confused at how I've done some of this and why updating these has broke this. So let's close and restart Visual Studio because I think some of it is it has lost its mind. The fact that it shows including the file and then the excluded icon makes me suspect Visual Studio is a little confused. And then we've got this whole garbage thing going on. We got some WAT happening. Okay, let's just get this cleaned up. I just want you to work nicely. My little kitty is all happy and excited. Okay. Okay, how do I ignore analyzer? Let's see. From, because I need to. I need to turn off. I just want to exclude one analyzer. Let's see, T-unit analyzers. Let's see here. Started. Let's see. Analyzer support. Do you have? This doesn't even have the new one. Methods. Let's see. So T-unit added an is close to, which conflicts with mine. So I think I should be able to just drop mine. Let's see, remove. And then that should hopefully, great. His syntax matches mine. Wonderful. I assume I can do the same thing on the other ones. Just build, and that should drop a bunch of them off of there. Great. So I can kill off my TUnit extension. Great. I approve. Thank you, TUnit. You have once again made me happy. I don't need to add an extension anymore because you've already done it for me. Let's see. And then this is a auto include only because there is a props file. I'm not seeing my global include. I'm gonna say it was here, but it's not. Where is my using include? Because this is which projects? UI tests and WPF tests. So UI tests. Oh, it's right there in front of me. Duh. Okay, so you just got to not be a moron and open your eyes. Okay, now that we fixed me being dumb. Okay, now we got to deal. Let's see here. So this. Let's see. I would like all of these fixed. So, hey, Copilot. No, new chat. Let's see here. Fix all of I want the actual error number here. I guess we can just fix these by hand. It's not worth it. False. Let's see, is null. Go. Just snipe these right out of here. There. There. Great. There we go. That cleans up each of those. Kind of wondering how valuable these individual tests are. I mean, it's asserting on each of those. It's just they feel like low value tests to me, but eh. Let's see, is true. That handles that. It's true. That handles that. Boom. Okay. Now, how do I tell it to shut up on that? Async. How do I disable you? Suppress. And downgrade it to a warning would be ideal. Did you not actually make an edit to my editor config? Let's see. Configure. Okay, I want. Okay, so we are going to our editor config. Actually, is the UI been? No. No. Okay, we're gonna do this. Oh, didn't grab it. Oh, it didn't grab it. Oh, you jerk. Come on, give it back to me. Let's see. Let's see. I want it to be down to a suggestion, maybe a warning. Let's see. Suggestion. Trying to decide if I like that or if I want to, or if I should just suppress it in source. Because this handler here, is only async because this is async. Yeah, we're going to go with it. Okay. There we go. I think that gets us hopefully compiling. And then we go back to our combo box tests. Let's see, combo box tests. And then we go here, go back down to the whole thing that started this mess of I just want to write a test, but it works now. All this just to have this, all just to make this test compile. Don't even know that it runs yet. Don't even know that it runs, but we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it pass, or at least compile, and then hopefully. Okay, come on. I don't know why we are struggling so much tonight, Visual Studio. I know I installed the latest, but okay. Invalid operation exception. Excellent. Oh, it's comparing the wrong types. Get background color. And then this should become a color. And this is, yeah, mobile. So, there. There we go. Okay, all of that to get that working. Hoy vey. Hoy vey. That was way more effort than it needed to be. Okay. We're going to bump all that stuff. Bump that. Push that. Yeah, force push the branch. There should be an open PR. Good. Jump to it. Put it in the milestone. Enable auto merge. Enable auto merge. Okay. Now, while that's thinking about its life. Let's see. Support for changing the background color. Hopefully this isn't the same thing. Let's see. Support for changing the background color on scroll viewer. Okay. I see no major problems with that. That's just a missing template binding. Submit approval. Let's see. And this is okay, cool. And he threw it in the milestone. Great, great, great. Squash merge, full send. Excellent. Where tabs and dialog stop working. You may be able to hit test visibility. I am fine with this. And squash merge. That went in there. Just make sure the item is in there. Great. Perfect. Perfect. See, we are cruising. We are cruising. And then that's set to autocomplete. Okay. Now for the fun part. Now for the fun part. So, close some of this down. So, I have this crazy idea. Right? Okay. Here's the idea. Source generators are awesome. C#. What is less awesome is they are a metric pain to write and to build. They require you to do all kinds of effort. Something similar could be said about analyzers, though they are slightly easier-ish. And there's one analyzer out in the corpus that I love called the Band API analyzer. And it's wonderful because you, speaking of which, ironic timing. One moment, please. Let's see. There, and boom, 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 and ring. Okay. Sorry. Looking through, and that's still open. There we go. But the Band API analyzer allows us to just put a text file into our project and say, okay, here are the APIs that I want banned, and it does the needful. And I feel like source generators can be kind of similar. There's a handful of common patterns that I just repeatedly want, right? I want to put an attribute on a class and have it gen some stuff. I want to put an attribute on a method or a property and have it gen some stuff. That's what I want. And I've rebuilt that pattern now so many times. I was thinking about this today. There feels like there should be a better way. And then I had some inspiration. Source generators generally go in their own projects. If a source generator goes in its own project, why couldn't that project also have a reference source generator that then generates the source generator? So, yes, it sounds crazy. Well, go with me on this, right? So a source generator, so in your project, say the material design and XAML project, right? Say we wanted to build a fancy source generator, which again, I've got this. I secretly have a side objective of XAML source generators. Side note for that later. But the idea is that I have a project where I put my source generator, and in that project, I'd lay out the config, right? The bits that are going to go through and do it. Man, my lighting is bad tonight. I put in the config for those source generators, and then that project generates a source generator in that project, and my other projects can then reference that project to use their fancy config source generators. That's the crazy idea. That's the idea. Okay, so that's the game plan, and I've already kind of got a name picked out. So we're gonna go here. So here is the idea. Source Weaver is the idea, right? And I looked in here, and it doesn't look like it's taken. And it's kind of a callback to when I did a lot of IL weaving. So this is also a callback to that. So this is the game plan. Make dir Caboo Source Weaver. This is where we go. This is what we do. We'll go like this, and I wanted to look briefly at my .NET packages because I need my want to make sure I got the latest version of my templates installed. It will be replaced with the latest version. Great. Okay, so we're going to do .NET new, and we are going to do a class library, Caboo NuGet, and I'm going to give it a name of Caboo Source Weaver SDK. I think this is where we're going to go. Izzy, Merry Christmas! We're about to do something crazy. We are going to make source generators for source generators because my world was not painful enough, so we're going to make it worse. That is I have come up with a crazy idea, and I ran into a problem today at work, and I did not like that I didn't have a clean solution, and so I'm going to build myself a solution. Or at least that's the game plan. So, oh, did it nest it one level too deep? It did. It nested it one level too deep. Okay, hang on. Let me just cut. delete, or actually what I want to do is I want to take this and put you at this level. There. That's what I want. Okay. This should be at the right level now. Great, 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 great. Okay, so standard NuGet package template, off to the races. We're going to just rev dependencies because there's probably something out of date. So start by getting me all the things. Okay, and then the other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to go and grab from my mock library. Pull. I want to add in, wait a minute, what is, oh, this added in, oh, I need to go look at this analyzer that Copilot wrote it and I need to review it. Okay, but regardless, this thing, so here's the thing, right? This project has a source generator in it. This is the type of thing that we want to build. Now, let me go grab a sample because I sent a sample to some colleagues, and I think a picture will paint 1,000 words. Let me grab a handful of. I just clear my clipboardy stuff real quick. Let's see. New paste. Okay, so here's the premise, right? This is the type of class that I want to write inside of the source generator project, right? When I want a new source generator that says, say, generate out this property for me, I want to write a method. I want to maybe tell it, hey, this is going to be a source generator property. The syntax is completely made up. So, but I want it to feed in a context with some information about maybe which property this thing was on. Maybe it's information about the property type and those types of things. Like I want that information easily surfaced to me. Great, fine. But then I want an easy result class that I could kick back, and the result class probably needs to have overloads for multiple outputs and that kind of thing. Great, fine. We can do all of that stuff. Right? So but I want this friendlier source generator API that's light and easy to generate. And when I write this, I want it to actually write me the incremental source generator that does all of the ugliness for me, right? I don't want to think that hard. I want it to do the heavy lifting for me. So that's the game plan. That's what I think I want. I think I want this. I'm not sure I want it, but I think I do. So that's where we are going. And I think I want to blatantly steal a whole bunch of this stuff because I need to distribute a source generator with my package. So I think what I need here is, this is where it's going to get weird because we're going to have a source generator for a source generator and then obviously test for the source generator of the source generator. It's going to get wacky. It's going to get wacky up in here. Okay, so we're going to have some fun now. Let's see. Kaboo, source weaver, generators. Right? Because I think I want this. Let's see. That's a quick question. Deriving from observable object, setting observable object attribute on class. Any downsides to using the attribute? The only one is a slight amount of performance. So, and it's an emphasis on slight. So, if everything else is equal, you derive from the object if you can, when possible. The only disadvantage of the attribute is you are forced to make your object partial, which you probably were going to be anyway. But then it ends up generating all of the same base class stuff that you would get from deriving. The disadvantage is if you use the attribute everywhere in your project, every single one of your classes gets effectively the same copy of that code, right? It's identical code because it's been source gened, versus having a common base class where it won't grow. So you end up with a bunch of extra methods and a bunch of extra stuff that just gets duplicated. So when possible, derive, because that will avoid that duplication. Again, very small impact, right? But the attribute is there for cases where maybe you don't control the base class or otherwise, and you're like, but I really want this thing observable, just gen me the same stuff, right? So when possible, use the base class. If not, don't feel too bad about the attribute. I just wouldn't use the attribute if doing the base class was an option. So, Izzy, just as long as you don't decide you want more. I like my little project that I have now. Thought of another feature to make it even more complicated. And I'm out of Copilot credits, so I have 3 weeks of writing everything myself now. Yes, I am intimately familiar with this problem. It has been one of those, after the pricing change, watching everybody go back. Actually, there's one thing I'm going to plug real quick. Plug one more thing. Where is it? So first of all, for everybody who wasn't here earlier, that is the YouTube link for the interview that I did with Chet Husk that came out last Friday on MS Build, the .NET tooling, all of that stuff. Buckle up. I mean, most of you, I think, put up with my longer streams anyway. Chet set a record for the longest interview stream I've done at like 90 minutes. So we kept going, and I was like, man, is it a free version of Copilot? Yeah, no, not quite. But I do have an interview coming out with Stephen Cleary tomorrow morning. So add 11 hours or 12 hours from whatever time it is now, and it will be live up on that same playlist. For people who don't know Stephen, if you've searched for async and await in .NET out online, you have probably come across either one of his videos or blogs or otherwise. He's been very prolific in that area, writing and speaking on it for years. Great guy. And so I've got an interview with him tomorrow morning that's coming out. So just be aware that that is coming. And then I was hunting for one more thing because I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I was actually contemplating actually doing another video run with him. Okay, so this here is a playlist from Tim Corey called AI Hurts Everything. I have thoroughly enjoyed this playlist. And despite the name, it is not just an anti-AI rant. And he makes it very clear in all of his videos. But it's taking a look at AI and making sure that people understand the cost of it beyond just dollars and cents, right? Of everything that you're giving up in order to get the benefits of AI. Because there's absolutely benefits to it. But oftentimes people only look at the benefits and not the cost. And I still have an idea that there's the running joke with architects that the answer is it depends, right? And should you AI that? It depends, right? Like I did some coding over the weekend where I built a to-do list app mostly because I needed to learn some new tech, right? I had never done a view, which Stephen? Cleary, Bananatron. Both are awesome. Yes. And Stephen Taub is on my list of people to hit up to see if I can con him into doing a stream as well with me. But yes, Stephen Cleary, about 12-ish hours from now. So, and Stephen's a great guy. I love hanging out with him. But Tim Corey's AI Hurts Everything thread is really that idea of making sure people understand everything that you're giving up and approaching it with some like data-driven approach, right? Because you can find hype everywhere, and hype is cheap. So there is that. So with that said, I don't feel like I'm anti-AI in a lot of cases because I do use it daily for a lot of things. but it is, I think, important to make sure you leverage it. Because when I was doing my to-do list app and trying to learn the new tech, I very intentionally tried to avoid letting AI write it unless the task I was giving it was something I knew how to do already, right? If it was something I knew how to do already, sure, fine, let it write it. But everything that was like new or I wasn't, 100% confident I knew, I kind of regulated AI to you are my rubber duck where I'm going to ask questions, but you're not allowed to do anything. Just sit off here on the side. I didn't give it any context of where my folder was. Like, I'm just going to run a side chat with you so that we can, discuss the tech and I can, get some information, because it was a good learning aid. I will say that. But it required kind of putting it in that box of no, 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 you're not going to help. You are just here as my duck. And stay there until I need you for something. And so we did a lot of that, which, again, very helpful. But it is, I think, worth calling out those costs. And I may ping, because I did an interview stream with Tim Corey before, but I may hit him up to see about doing I don't know, a retro on this playlist that he's put together, because I think there's some good discussion and some questions I would have for him too. So I don't know if people find that interesting, let me know, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. And so I generally take the stance that when I'm streaming stuff, I stream what I'm enjoying, and you all get to just come along for the ride and watch my chaos unfold. Okay, hard part number one. What do I call a source generator whose job it is to generate source generators? Because this feels like I'm very quickly about to shoot myself in the foot of what I call this thing, right? So trying to think of which one of these is probably my simplest one that I did. This one's probably not bad. Inceptogen. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. This is gonna be Inception. You know what? You may be joking, Izzy, but uh, I'm gonna go with Incepto uh, source generator. So you're to blame, Izzy. I am shamelessly stealing. I realize that's not exactly what you called it, but we're going with close. Okay, and I did not grab any of the NuGet packages or anything else that I needed. So let's just go and poach some of that right away. Let's see. I think we're going to do all of this because I'm basically going to package this up the same way I did for the same way I did on AutoMocker. So I'm blatantly just going to take all of this stuff, and then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go here, and I need this at minimum, it looks like. So, what the heck? My template included that. Looks like a bug. Sorry, side detour. I see bug, must fix bug. Let's see. Okay. Make that a little bigger for people. Let's see. This is going to be under my library template. It is my directory packages props. Why did you include XUnit when I did not ask for it? Because you are just blindly adding XUnit. Okay, that's why. Okay, that's fine. Let's see here. So we need to do this logic here. So this has actually been a bug for a while, apparently, because I haven't done this on any of my stuff, apparently. So we're going to just bring you up, do that, and then I need to do the TUnit equivalent. Bring that in. It's not a bug, it's an intentional feature, or unintentional feature. You could say that, but I think I might still classify it as a bug. Okay, and then I want to, just while I'm in here, 153. We're just going to auto bump this sucker up since I already know that this is boom, boom, boom. Put that in place there, and then let's see, Microsoft. Surprised I don't have a separate package for MS Test. Seems like there's a bug there. But one of these must be bringing in a transitive dependency, otherwise it wouldn't be building. Okay. There. Well, we are going to do that, and then I'm going to just send this. Let's see. B additional include. Let's see. Put that in. You should figure out what that's for. Yeah. Thank you. And then push pull request, submit. And then that seemed fine. Pull request, and then we're gonna just jump here. We're gonna enable auto merge, and it's gonna take itself a sweet little bit of time because the test summary takes a little bit. I'm gonna just check here really quick because I saw an email notification about this. I want to know which test failed. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go summary, and then I should be able to look at the breakdown of the failing tests. All brush themes applied. Resource names are case sensitive. Oh, well, this is unfortunately exactly what we just added. So something is not generated properly. Timeout, maybe, possibly related to the, because this is a combo box as well. And these two are skipped, so we don't care. So probably related to the brush. I'm too excited about my other thing. Okay. Back to fun and happiness. Sure, VS Code. Go ahead and update yourself. Go have fun. I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it. Okay. So we got this. We got this. You should now resolve. Why you know resolve. Isn't that all my AutoMocker 1 references? Yes. Why do you not have more? Oh, I'm wondering if it's actually the downstream dependency. Look here. Dependencies, packages. Oh, because even though I've package referenced this thing here, it hasn't actually built it yourself yet. Aha. That would do it. And then yeah. Go ahead and find it. Yeah. There we go. There we are. There we go. Implement interface. Now we're cooking with fire. Now we are cooking with fire. Okay. And we're going to go boom, boom. Copy. Come over to here and go paste. And we are going to come into here and we are going to get rid of this so that you are empty. And then that goes like that. That goes like that. That goes like that. Okay. Okay. Let me close some stuff down. I got too much going. Okay, so I think what we should probably do is start with what I want this to look like, and then lay that out. So I think what we're going to do, I'm going to do I do, let's just put them all at the root, I guess. I don't, okay, so new project, and this will be a console app, sure. Sample app. Next, sure, great. And then it would end up looking like this of class library, next, sample app, generators. All right, so this is where this thing is going to go. And this guy is going to end up needing to be net standard 2.0. And we might go all kinds of level of fancy on this. We will see. We will see. So the goal here is this guy doesn't look like this, but inside of these generators, we're going to put something similar to this, right? I don't know quite what the shape of this is going to look like, but in this generator, we are going to define out something. And actually, you know what? Doing some sort of iNotify property changed on a property is probably not a bad, let's see, property change generator, right? Something of this nature, right? And so this guy is going to be what ultimately references the SDK. The SDK is going to bring along our inception generator for the ride as a generator, and then we are going to run the test with that. That is the game plan. So we are going to call this here. And so what we would like to do here is in this guy, we are going to create a new thing that's, I don't know, view model, right? And so if hypothetically in my code, I want this thing, partial class view model, and I want it to be an actually, no, I'm not even going to do that, right? I want this to be observable object, right? I'm literally going to just take that question that you asked, Hessen, earlier of what this should be, and we're going to re-implement part of what the community toolkit does, just as a way of proving that this sucker works, right? And so down here, what I would like to do is I would like, yeah, something of that nature. But what I would like to do is public partial string name get set, right? This is what I want to see work. And frankly, just getting this to compile is going to be a feat in and of itself, right? Because none of this stuff exists. And actually, we might not even need to do this. We're gonna do something of that nature, right? Implement interface, right? So we're gonna start here and just go simple. Is we want this guy to work, and in order for this to work, this generator is gonna need to do something, right? And so I think we need an API, and this is where he needs some sort of trigger. Like I think I had done something up here of source generate collected data property, and in this case I'm thinking we can do the same thing. Source generate, and then it'll be something along the lines of property equals observable property, right? We are just gonna, again, the goal is to make this an easy thing. Now for this to work, this thing needs to go add property reference, and this needs to reference the SDK. The SDK, in order for this to compile, we don't need this, and actually we don't need class 1 at all. That's just from my template, and we don't need class 1 tests. That dies, right? But this guy now needs add class source generate attribute. So he needs to exist in order for that thing to compile. needs to be public and sealed for now because we are going to be doing all kinds of things. Needs to derive from attribute, and he needs a public string property get set, right? And now that should get this guy to compile. Did I misspell something? Specify, attribute usage. So I need, well, I don't need it, but I should specify. Attribute targets, valid on, for now we're just going to say class, allow multiple false. That seems prudent for now. We'll probably expand this later, but we're going minimal. Oh, and the SDK needs to be net standard. That the reason this thing is failing is because we can't have a net standard referencing a net 10 library. That's fine. We can dial that down. Okay, so that should get there. This is going to bring in a using. And ideally, at some point, I want to kill these usings off as well. Again, I want to get this as stupid simple as I can make it. Okay. So, and then this guy, just kind of looking at my thing, I want to have him. I suppose he could derive from a base class too as another trigger. I don't know. We're going to basically public static what did I call this earlier? Generation result. I don't know if I like this name yet. Generation context. Context. I'm kind of wondering if I actually want these more specific to their usages. Because, for example, here, if I say I'm doing this generator and it's for a property, what if we do this? Property. The thing is, it's not meant to generate a property. It's meant to trigger on an attribute from a property. Attribute generator. Maybe we do this. And rather than this, we do public abstract class property attribute generator, right? And we do something of this nature. Public class generation result. Public class generation context. And I'm wondering if we're going to do a base class, we could actually get a little more specific here. Property context, because maybe I do want a base class for my context. Public abstract, something of that nature. That seems fine. Property. What? Here we go. And that goes there. Okay, so null bang for the moment. Make it shut up. Okay, so I think this is out. And this, for anybody interested, this is oftentimes how I like to write libraries: is set up what I want, like what syntax do I want to write here, and then beat the library into submission so that this API works, right? Because this is kind of what I want to do. So this thing needs to define, somehow this thing needs to define override string. It needs some way of indicating its property, its attribute. Public override string attribute name. It could work. Let's move you into a file that matches. Let's see. And then we want public abstract string, what do we call it? Attribute name, right? Is going to be, kill you for the moment. Yeah, okay, so that gives me the attribute name. And in this case, it's not, well, maybe it should be property changed. So, changed, right? Okay, so that's going to go like that. So when this guy comes in, what I want to do is something of the nature of, well, we should figure out what we want the generated code to look like, right? So if I do partial class view model, I kind of expect this is what I want to generate. I want to generate this, but I then want to generate a public partial string name, and we're going to do something somewhat simplistic. Private string name, right? Let's see, this thing should probably be nullable for now. Actually, you know what? Let's make this hard. If we're going big, we're gonna make this work. Let's see here, and then this guy here. I guess this thing's net 10, so there's no reason we couldn't have it do get field, right? And then here we could do set, and we're going to do a fairly simplistic implementation, right? But it should do something of that nature. And how does this get implemented if we're using field as the keyword? Because that's not, you'd end up having to generate a, let's see, I think for now, what we're going to do is this. That way it works. I think this is what we wanted to generate. What is your problem with this? Only auto, what? Why do you think there's a field keyword? Oh, only auto implemented properties. Oh, or can have initializers. Oh, so it will work. Okay. Let's put that back then. We're going to just do that. Okay, and then we're going to comment this for the moment just so we can see the build go. But our intention is to generate the attribute. Okay. Okay, so that is good there. Unable to locate repository, whatever. Oh, it's unhappy because I have the default of doing the source link enabled, and I have not created a repository. Let's make a repository really quick for this. Go here, here. And then I want to put this under, let's see, we'll do an MIT license. That will be there. It'll be public. Yeah, send it for now. Okay. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. We will deal with the inevitable collapse of humanity in a moment. Okay, so this is what we actually want the output to look like. So that means in our source generator, what I kind of want to do is string builder, right? Is I will kind of want this, and I kind of want to do SB append, and then I kind of want to do ding ding, ding ding ding, and then I want to paste this in. And here's the thing. I don't want to have to generate the class definition at all. That's not a thing I want to think about. So I don't want to have to write that. I only want to have to write out this. I think. Or maybe I do want to write the class definition. Because at the same point, I'm going to want to be able to write usings and other related things as well. So maybe I do actually want this. But this I don't want to do here. I want my context to have a class name. And then that should be property name. Thank you, Copilot. And then this should also be property name. So I need to add both of those to my fanciness. So I'm going to move this into this guy. So, and this is where I think I actually want to have a base class. Do I? I think I do. Generation class context. Because I have a feeling I'm going to want a public, let's see, required string class name. Get init. What is your problem? Oh, I don't have external init defined here. That's fine. That's fine. I got you. Copy. Paste. Now we have external init. Problem solved. And what is your problem? Missing compiler required member constructor. Oh, because I can't do required on here. Okay, that's fine. Do I do this as a... Trying to decide if I shim this in or not. Required members attribute. Compiler feature requires attribute. Let's see. Is there a good explanation of different licenses anywhere? There are so many of them these days. Good question. There probably is. There, in general, though, I think there's only a handful that matter that I think are important for developers to know. MIT is kind of... Oh, yeah. I'll get to the external init in a moment, Izzy. MIT is a lot of times people's default standard for open source stuff because it basically says people can take this source code, do whatever they want with it. Effectively, like you can use it in open source, closed source solutions, doesn't matter, have at it, have fun, right? It functionally is a very freeing thing. I think one of the only things it limits is you can't take credit for other people's work, but like you can make derivative works and all that stuff. Great, fine. GPL is the other one that I think is important for developers to know because it requires, and I am not a lawyer. Take this with a grain of salt and double check it with a lawyer before doing this. But GPL, if you want to use it in a closed source, if you make modifications, those have to be made open as well, right? It's GPL effectively is designed to prevent something that is open source going closed. Now, with that said, people have gotten around that by just revving a version at different times. But that's the intent behind GPL is improvements remain open source. LGPL, is where, and I'm trying to remember the exact details, you can use it closed, but without modifications or something to that effect. So there's tiers to it here. GitHub at one point rolled their own open source license. Microsoft has rolled their own open source license. I personally think that in most of those cases, I don't like licenses that are tied to one particular provider, like even Microsoft or GitHub. I prefer something that and MIT has been sort of the de facto standard for so long. I'm kind of just used to doing it. External init. So there is probably websites out there that are better and explain the legalese. I am not a lawyer. Do not take my word for it. So the SDK project here is referencing Net Standard 2.0 because that's what source generators require. The problem with Net Standard 2.0 is things like the init keyword came out after Net Standard was invented. The thing is, the init keyword is a compiler trick. So it doesn't require a newer BCL, base class library. So you don't need a different version of .NET for this to work. What you need is for particular classes that the compiler is looking for to exist. And it doesn't care whether where those classes come from. The compiler does a lot of duck typing on these things. So the fancy term here is modrec, is what actually gets decorated onto the setter when you do the init keyword. The thing is, you can backfill or polyfill exactly like what Bananatron says there. Like you can polyfill the library. There's libraries out there that do this as well. I just have a hard time bringing in a library when all I need is literally an empty class. As long as this type exists in this namespace, the compiler is like, we're good. I just need to reference that class. That's it. The compiler just needs to reference it as part of the modrec, which is a requirement that is needed on the invocation of the setter. The thing is, in order for the compiler to do it, it needs that class. When the class doesn't exist in the BCL, because it only exists in Net 5, Net 6, BCL. So older ones, you have to bring that type in because the older BCLs don't have it. So as long as it's referenced somewhere, you're fine. Whether you polyfill it with a library or whether you just copy and paste the right signature in, either one backfills it just fine. So that's all it is doing here. And I guess I'm trying to decide if I like it as an init here, because I could do the same. Like the thing is to do required, I'm going to end up having to polyfill back that as well. I don't know if I like that. Grumble, grumble, grumble. We're just going to ignore the warnings for now. That is the solution to this problem. We are going to ignore the warnings. Let's see. Context class name. This is a problem because this is not referencing the base. There we go. Okay, so that now builds. Great. Okay, so the next thing we need inside of this lovely little system that we are building is I need this generator referenced and able to generate this, right? So this generator. Oh, wait a minute. I'm realizing I've got a weird circular dependency here. I don't know that I want. How is this going to work? How is this going to work? Because I need my source generator to be able to run this code at compile time to generate the generator. So in order to build this out, how does that need to work? How does that need to work? Sorry, I'm just realizing I've got a circular package dependency, which is going to make this slightly more interesting. So this works so cleanly in my head, and I'm trying to understand why it's not working here. And maybe I need to declare it differently. It's generation time. What is generation type context? Why does the property need to be type name? I'm missing something, Izzy. I'm not sure I'm tracking. I might need more clarification. So this declaration here might need to be something other than, I was wanting it to be C# to allow for fanciness to be done. Because there's plenty of templating engines that we could do as well, but there is some elegance to being able to have it be C#. So here's why I'm confused here, right? And I realize I've wrapped myself. This is a problem of my own creation, which is exciting. Is this the order that these projects end up getting compiled in, right? So if we go down this list, right? So the SDK has a dependency on the generator. So the generator project is going to need to compile first. It doesn't have any dependencies. It just contains our inception generator. Great. He compiles, we're good, right? We now get to the SDK and we go to compile it. The SDK only depends on generators. He compiles, we're good. Now we get down, and I'm ignoring the test for the moment. We now get down into our sample app. Sample app depends on, and it doesn't yet, so we're going to fix it. Sample app depends on its own generators, and so the generators have to compile. For the generators to compile, I want to run because sample generators depend on the SDK, which uses the inception generator. The inception generator gets to run as part of this compilation. The problem is I wanted the inception generator to execute this code, but the inception generator is executing before this code has actually been compiled. That's my problem. Oh, but wait a minute. Does it change if I move where it goes? Does the problem change if rather than generating into this project, it generates the source generator here? Naming the types of, oh, I see. Feels like they should just be name properties to avoid naming the types of much. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, possibly. I think I'm being overly verbose at the moment just to make it make sense in my head since I'm doing this weird inception-y thing. This is why this has been hard for people. I now understand the problem. Okay, so in order for this to work, I would need the source generator to get generated here. But I can't do it there because you can't source gen into a source gen. Because I need the generator to exist and be fully compiled here before we get to here so that it can be used. Because you need to have the source generator fully exist before it can be picked up by the other one. So I do need it to be here, which means this as the configuration is not going to work. I need this to be something slightly different. Something that can be as powerful as this, but not. Okay, so that's not going to work. Okay. I'm kind of thinking I don't like this. Um, yeah, I don't want this. Let's see. This handlebars is a fairly consistent one. Um, Scribian is another one. We're not doing Razor. I don't like that. Fluid is not a bad idea. I do like this idea here. Because this could be an easy way of doing it. This might be an easy way of getting around doing this. Targets net standard 2.0 and works on all the things. So maybe rather than doing it as Cutie, welcome in. Welcome in. It is good to see you. Hopefully you had a wonderful stream. The project goes good. We have decided, I had a crazy idea earlier today where I want to create a .NET source generator that generates .NET source generators. And yes, that is as crazy as it sounds. And you know it's crazy because I think I'm on Mountain Dew number 6 for the day. What do you even generate, bro? Yeah, exactly. But I think I've just come to the understanding of why I can't make the config for the generator C# itself, because then I would need to compile it. I would need an extra project in this stack, and I'm trying to avoid that. Versus, so let's go here. Let's manage NuGet package. I think Scribian, Scriben, Scribe. I don't know how to Scriben. I'm bad at pronunciation. Okay, so we're gonna go here. We're gonna pull this guy in. And there's going to be an added extra bonus that I know is about to make this harder, with how dependency resolution works inside of source generators, because it doesn't play like everything else. But yeah, that's a different problem to solve in a different way. For now, we are going to change this up and say, instead of that, what is the? Do you have a typical like template file? Like, I realize this says it supports Liquid, and it's happy to take things in whatever file format I want, which is interesting. Documentation. Do you have like this is fine. I'm just wondering if there is any tooling support around having your template in a particular file format, right? Specifically this guy here, like I could do scribing. That's a thing, I guess. Um, I don't care about liquid. Just like my generic modular cipher machine. uh, yes, Izzy, but the difference is at least mine is still virtual. Mine has not, gotten legs and real buttons and things yet. Though I will say, at one point in my life, I did work on a project where I was I was writing software that controlled an industrial printer for circuit boards. It was one of the only times in my life I've been writing code that could kill me, which was really fun. And there was only one time where it kind of got a little off the rails, where I may have gotten a motor control in a situation where it launched a large piece of metal at a very high speed. But like there was one day my boss came in and I'm literally sitting on the because the printer had this what was it called? It was the main table where the PCBs were supposed to go, and this thing was heavy. Like it weighed 3,000 pounds, really big. And it was I was sitting on it, riding the stepper motors up and down as I was testing my code to make sure that I could control the stepper motors. My boss walks in and goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm testing the stepper motors." He's like, "While sitting on it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" I like part of it was it made it easy because then I could reach the cables to plug in. If I was directly in the middle of all the motors, it was I without actually moving, I could reach all of the cables. So, it for a while it was also the world's most expensive footstool. Like I had it under my desk at one point and I'd put my feet on it, and then now that once I got all the stepper motors working properly, I could raise my footstool up and down to the appropriate height. Now I only had a max range of like, I don't know, 11 inches up or down. Like I did not have a huge amount of play in this thing, but I had some, and it was the most expensive footstool I've ever had. Uh, yeah, it will eventually have buttons and things before the turn of this century. I believe you. I don't see a thing on here, so we're just gonna do .scriben and call it a day. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go add new item. Let's see, we're gonna call this property change dot scriben. Ding, 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 ding. And then we are going to take this whole thing here, and we're just gonna put it inside the template because that is what we do. That is what we do. The reason why I'm picking on a different file extension here is and why I have an SDK project is I secretly have this idea that I'm going to do some fun MS Build stuff, similar to how your Spire app host has a different SDK in its project signature, just to be cool, and because reasons. Okay, so the thingy-mabobber, which is the technical name here. We just need things of this nature. So this ends up just being class name, and this just ends up being property name, and this just ends up being property name, and we're good, and we're done. That's it. Okay. Okay. So then we axe this whole thing here. And this, the one thing I need is I need this thing to have metadata. That's actually okay, because I think what I can do here is I can go public sealed class. And I don't know, I feel like I'm going to want something cheaper than this, but I could do property changed attribute, right? And I'm just going to do that for the moment. Or actually, we can get away with just semicolon now. So there's that. And then we can do attribute usages property, allow multiple, blah, 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 blah. Done. All right. Thank you, Copilot. You've been very helpful. Thank you for typing. So then what I need is I need my inception generator, which now I think I can give this thing a better name. Scribe-in source generator. So he will take the scribe-in files, he will ingest them, and then he will spit out the rendered thingy-mabobber, and the world will be a happy place. I think that works. I don't see why it doesn't yet, so we're going to keep going. I feel like somebody should have built this already. And I did spend about 5 minutes Googling, and I did not find anything, or at least did not find anything that worked the way I wanted it to. So, yeah. Okay. So let's go and steal from myself, because it's not stealing if you steal from yourself. That's the way that goes. We're going to do this mibobber. And we are going to come across to here, and we are going to just plug this in. And, oh, need to stop doing that. And then we're going to do this mabobber. And we're going to plug this in. Do I need this? Do I need this? I don't think I do. I don't need the ability to turn this generator off. If you are referencing this, by definition, you want it on. So if you want it off, don't reference the NuGet package. Problem solved. So this becomes... Nope, can't type. There must be a lot of people watching, because otherwise I could type. At least that's the explanation I'm going with. Okay, and then this guy here. So this is just checking the references, grabbing the thing, doing the needful. Okay, so what we want to do instead is, given the compilation, so I guess private incremental value provider, go with render I've been templates, maybe? I don't know. Just do string. Get scribe-in templates. I'm gonna do that. And so this will come down here. This changes to a string. Templates. This goes here. And I think I think we actually can just do string here. Because I think what I want to do here is this, and I want to feed in the compilation unit, and then change you to a string. And then change you to templates. And I want to go you here. And then I probably want to change you to maybe an enumerable. But let's see, what do we got in the compilation is of type compilation. That should have been obvious. Let's see. And then I need to figure out how to get extra files. Because because none of these are what we want, actually. I want files that are not C# files. Because this guy is going to use this to generate a source generator that uses this. That is the game plan. So I need him to grab that. Right? Yes. And return it back. And actually, I think what we want to do... How does this work, right? Because this guy reads in the scribe file, doesn't need to do anything with it, generates a source generator that generates based on the scribe file. So it's going to convert, it's going to read this in, read the contents as a string. And so really the question is, source generator, get extra files. C# source generator, get resource files. Because I want to get the extra stuff. Where is the cookbook? We must cook. Generate classes, additional file transform. Is this what it is? Additional files. Yes, this thingamabobber. This is the guy. This is the guy. Okay. You'll note this is using the old one, but it dot additional files. Most of this stuff has been about the same. Nope. What is this? What does this guy come with? Select mini. Cancellation token is the other one. Token. We can do that. And then we will feed that through. That's fine. But that doesn't get me what I want. Oh. Yeah, fine. There. Happy? Okay. My syntax receiver, blah, 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 blah. None of these things are incremental source generators. These. Ooh, interceptors. I'm briefly... Oh, this was the other thing I was looking at. Substitute a call to an interceptable method with a call to itself at compile time. Call to itself at compile time. Does this get me around my C# compilation error problem? I don't think it does because it's the timing of the generator, not the oh, additional text provider. Ah ha 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 ha. So I'm just ah ha 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 ha. Additional text provider. Ah ha 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 ha. Now we're talking here. There we go. And then this is obviously of type additional text. And then do you support where static file path ends with? Got it. So I can filter that down. So what we want to do here is we want to get our, we want to do this, but we want to do context, and we want to do scriben, and then we want to do that. Ha 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 ha. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. So this is going to be an additional text file. Incremental values. Cannot implicitly convert type incremental values provider to incremental. Wow, that is brutal. Okay. And then do the thing, do the needful. All right, so this was grabbing the file name and the text. And I think rather than doing a tuple here, so this is what they did, right? So they were returning back a tuple of the stuff. I don't think this is what we want. We want to return back something more interesting. So let's see here. Private class and file. Let's see. And we're gonna do let's see. Public string. Sure. We probably will need to expand on name to have it be like subpath or something. But we're gonna change this guy out here. So the first one's gonna limit it down to when the number of files change. This one is now going to do this. And that looks pretty close to what I expect. Okay, so that gets us to there. Now we have our templates. And then register source output. Now we have to generate the source generator for the thingy. Right, so context, register source output, context, name and content. We have, let's see, let's actually just call this file. And yeah, something of this nature. So what we are going to do is we are going to take the name of the scriben file, because we got file name without extension. So in this case, it'll be property changes.g.cs is what we're going to generate. And the content here is not correct. So this is not what we want. We want to actually generate a class that is a source generator. So in this particular case, what we want, static string build scriben source generator. Right, so we're going to do something of that nature. And now the question is, what should that generator look like? But what we're going to do is we're going to put this guy here, this guy here, this guy here. And so the source generator that we want to exist is going to need to look something akin to the following. So one, I'm going to do this. So we're just going to write this out here, and then we're, let's see, foo generator. Great. Yep. No, implement interface. All right, so this guy here is going to end up, let's see here. He needs to ingest he's going to have the template as a string inside of him because we have already read the file. There's no point in doing this out. So it's going to be something like private const string template gets ding, ding, ding. All right, so we're going to do something of this nature. It's going to end up containing all of this content verbatim. We're going to just dump all of that right there. This generator then needs to this is going to be a problem. I need the first generator to actually generate the attribute, and the second generator to use it. So this thing would have to contain the attribute itself. Okay. Okay. I don't know that I like this, but we're gonna go down this theoretical path for a moment. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. Just keep telling yourself that, Kevin, and eventually you'll believe it. Okay, so this part goes away, but this guy still contains that much, right? Which means this should probably compile now. Once I get the using in place. That guy now compiles because that now exists. So the generators one is going to need to declare the thing that it's using. I'm just worried because I feel like this scribing thing is going to immediately leave me lacking because now I need to have some way of linking these things together and I don't know how to link them yet. But that is not the current problem. This guy is going to get this template. This guy is going to need to iterate and find all properties that have that attribute, which I think there is a let's see. Example. We could always go look at the community toolkit. That would be a choice because that's a thing. I thought they had a sample for doing this though in a very simplistic manner. Let's see. I notify property changed. As a source generator. Yeah. Yeah. Why? Like this is what I wanted, but not how I wanted it. So yes, but no. That is not what I wanted. Let me look real quick because I think I have the community toolkit already cloned locally. Just check. I think I cloned it. Or let me phrase. I know I cloned it at one point. I just don't know if I kept it. .NET Community Toolkit. Got it. I got it. I did keep it. Okay. Yep. Okay. So these guys here, and so what I am interested in is the source generator for, say, their, not the analyzers, extensions, helpers. Where is the generators? Helpers input. Transitive member generator. So there is, let me just close everything down. We're going to just start adding bookmarks. So there's one bookmark. Control KK for anybody who cares. This is their base class for the incremental. And then gather all generation info and any diagnostics. So this is all of the stuff. Or attribute with metadata name. And this is where I don't know what I'm going to be able to put in because I'm going to need to know what that is. And they are passing it as a string right there. That's fine, I guess, for now. Because we are going to want our generator to have something of this nature and do something very similar to this, but yet different. Similar but different. Similar but different. Okay, so we're going to get rid of all of you. Paste this in instead. Okay, so hierarchy info, metadata info, T info. On, I don't know that I care about most of these. Hierarchy info, metadata info. I think even the result class, I don't know that I care that much about it. It's an interesting one. Equatable array. Let me guess. They wrote that themselves. Boy, vey, you know you've gotten yourself into some fun when you're going with unsafe as. Oh boy. Ooh boy. But with value equality support. Got it. Hoy, hoy vey. Somebody spent a lot of time doing this. I think for now we are going to scrap all of this, and we are going to make this object. Problem solved. Fully qualified metadata attribute. So in this case, what I'm going to end up needing to put here is, and this is where I'm not sure how I'm going to get the value into here, but the attribute in question is going to be that dot property changed attribute, right? So that's going to go there. This is class. I don't think I want that either. I don't have diagnostics to report because I don't have the thingies. I don't have that because I don't care. So node is property declaration syntax. Has or potentially has attributes. So we need to know what that guy does. Has or potentially has attributes. I probably want this. We're going to borrow it. Let's see. When you are learning, how do you feel confident of what you have learned? Like given a blank notebook, IDE, you know how to start from scratch. That is a good question. That is a good question. For me, oftentimes the metric of what I think of when I actually know something is I can then explain it to someone else. Now, the someone else might legitimately be a rubber duck. So that is a possibility. But that's often once I can go through and explain it. Now, there's still a chance that I'm wrong. Like if I've learned something incorrectly or I think I know it and I really don't, that doesn't give me the feedback of what I have done. But like in the case of technologies, so for example, over the weekend, I spent some time learning Vue and I built a little to-do app with it. And so I had the feedback of, does the app look like what I want? Does it work? Right. So there was feedback indicators there, but then there was also the, can I explain what I have done as I've done it? Right. If somebody's going to ask me questions on this little app, do I know it well enough to explain it back to someone? And that's kind of the bar for entry for me is if I can explain it, that's probably step one. And then with the full understanding that just being able to explain doesn't mean you're right. And that's where I think you need something else to know whether what you've learned is correct. Like in my case, it ran and look and work properly, right? Software is easy because we oftentimes, if there's a UI, there's some feedback there of is it there. So I think at least for me, that's how I would go through and do it. I also do a lot of kind of teaching training type work. And so I do have a strong bent towards that. And so that may not work for everybody. But that's oftentimes the way I like to go through and do things. I've actually got a conference I'm hosting next Wednesday where I'm going to end up needing to go through and teach some stuff. And I was prepping for it and kind of going through and doing it. But it's a lot of new content that came out at Microsoft Build, and this stuff was just announced last week. It's not like I've got years of experience or anything doing it. It's like, yeah, this was announced last week. This is a ready, set, go kind of learning moment. So, like even here with my repeated comments to myself of make it work, make it right, make it fast. Like those are the steps that I tend to work through. Even if it's like for a presentation of make it work, and then make it so, get something that's actually out there and going. But then make it right is the stage where I oftentimes will go through and say, okay, can I explain it to somebody? And then the make it fast is kind of going to that extra polished level of I know this inside and out. It's not can I explain it at a cursory level, it's can I explain it at a deep understanding level. So hopefully that kind of answers the question a little bit. Let's see here. This guy wanted to be an extension method, and we're not going to make him an extension method. Good question, though. I appreciate the question. So we're going to do this, though. Yeah, not a problem. I do enjoy questions on this stream, so feel free if there's something that pops into your head or otherwise. I am always happy to take it. This is okay. Has language version at least a C#8? I don't think I'm going to care about that for the moment. I don't care about the diagnostics. So I probably don't care about this, but maybe. We'll have to go and see what it is. This is building up the hierarchy. They're throwing cancellation if requested. I don't think I care about either of those. Is nullability supported? We probably will care. Like this metadata info, I think might be the most interesting part that I want. I don't know that I actually want it. Go look at that metadata info. What exactly is contained in that sucker? What did you put on your metadata info? Wait. Metadata info only has 2 members? And what's this? Oh, this is passed. This is, okay, is nullability supported as a method, and it's passed in here. So metadata info really is just is SILD, is nullability supported. I feel like I'm going to want something, but I don't know that that's the something that I want. Because this info object, validate type, and get info, I think that's probably closer to what I actually want to do. Validate type and get info. Go to implementation. Who? Observable object. Is this all because I picked on I notify property changed? Let's jump here real quick. I notify property changed, observable property generator. This one might be closer to what I'm actually after. This guy might be actually a little closer. So this one here is candidate property declaration. So what do you do? Check that the target is a valid field or partial property. So in this case, because their observable property attribute could be declared on a property or a field. And this is one of those things where I don't know how I want to have mine specify it. Because we could do it a number of ways. I just don't like any of them at the moment. So really, field type, checking for property syntax is probably good enough for me. Validate the symbol as well. Is candidate symbol valid? Let's see. Is property symbol? Oy vey. So dealing with pointers. Again, this is going a little more complex than what I need to deal with. A valid field or partial property. That. Wait a minute. This is a local function. The actual function is call the local function. I wonder why. That separation there. If it's just clarity. Parent node. Okay, so that's all fine. We get the member declaration syntax, and then do a bunch of work. We pull back the hierarchy, which this hierarchy I think is more akin to what I would be looking to do. File name hint, namespace, type infos. And then try get info. And then this guy is ultimately what's kicking back. I assume this is not a reflection property info. Yeah, this is their own. We've copied out the bits that we care about bit of it. So that their property info is a little more akin to what I'm after. This is actually closer to what I want mine to do. But I think none of these are going to actually be overly relevant. I'm going to paste it in here just for a moment so I can look at it. Because I don't think we're going to do any of this. I don't think, because we may want to do some level of validation on one of these, but I don't know that I care. I don't know that I care here. Because we aren't going after things. Try get info. I think this is the one thing that I'm actually going to care about is interesting. What do you do? Let's take in the member syntax. Return false. Is target type valid? Seems like this is overkilling it. Checks if effectively the support is enabled. Then gets the property type, gets the field name. This is the pieces that I think I care about because ultimately I just need the property name. I think. But on my case, I don't care about most of this stuff because all I need is the string for the name. So I think mine really is simple in this case because what I care about is pulling out the target symbol, right? Because this guy here is all that's going to matter. Let's see. So if target symbol is I property symbol, right? And then this guy here can effectively return property symbol dot name and be like, this is the stupidest simple. This is the simplest thing I can do and get the data out, right? What I probably need to build up is something that's going to have the context, that's going to be able to hold the context of the property name, because we know this thing here requires property name, class name. Property name. And then I think property symbol containing type dot name, right? Those are the two things that I need to return. Is at a minimum, this is what we need. We need those two guys. Let's see, return null. And then this goes to be a thingy-mabobber like that. And then that goes away. Cannot convert null to string because it is a non-nullable value type. Well, fine. Two can play at that game. String. Item dot. Item one is not null. Item is one. Item two. Okay. So that gets me to there. I don't think we need the bang on here anymore. No, we do. Okay. And then this is going to end up being, let's see. Infos. Let's see. Mini-Me is being a pest, so I guess it's time to entertain him before he wakes up the street. Same time next week. Yes, Izzy. Same time next week, and VHDL coding, if that may be interesting. I mean, I'm interested in it. I will admit my knowledge is low, but I would be happy to do something. So yeah, hit me up. Okay, and then we're just gonna throw away pretty much all of this. We don't want any of that. And then, yeah, something of this nature. And then this is where we need to get the content for it. And so we will go here, here. Where was that sample? Template parse, template render. So we will do this maneuver here. Hey, Society Dog, good to see ya. We are doing something a little bit crazy. By a little bit crazy, I mean a lot of bit crazy. Wait, which project did I add this to? Not this one. Oh, I added it here. I don't want it here. I need it in my base SDK. We're going to move it up here for now. We'll probably move it out later. Would not expect anything else. Thank you. I'm glad to meet expectations. No, so the idea here is I ran into a problem today in my day job where I really wanted a source generator, but it was going to be a lot of work to write the source generator for very little gain. And so I got it in my head that what I wanted was a much easier way of declaring source generators to not make the bar for entry so high, because it's kind of high right now and it's kind of annoying. So the premise is, imagine we wanted to do something of this nature, right? This is a contrived example because it's one that I know well, right? This is our sample app. We want to do a view modeling thing. We want to just have this, and we just want to write our own source generator to do it. And so we want the source generator to output something of this nature, right? Property changed is our own attribute. And so in our sample app, we create our own little generators project because we were going to have to do that anyway for a source generator. And we declare up our attribute, but then I like the idea of being able to have my source generator just be a simple template, right? That's the goal, because obviously this will not cover every possible use case for source generators. I don't expect it to. But there's enough times where I'm like, boy, it'd be really cool if I could just slap an attribute on this thing and then generate out this little bit of code. It'd be really cool if I could slap an attribute on a class and have it generate some code. It'd be really cool if, and so there's all these cases where it's like, boy, I could do something really fancy if I just had an easy way of injecting my source generator. And that's what I'm going for, is I want to build something that makes source generators not so painful and a little bit easier to build, and not to build for like to distribute as a NuGet package, but simple one-off generators that can be included in my projects that are purpose built for that project, for what they're doing, right? Because that's the thing about source generators, is we've got this awesome syntax. It's kind of like how C++ or C has like their macros. They've got this cool thing where they can just kind of meta level program, and they can just inject it right in their project at the area where they're using it and just leverage it And it's awesome. And we have something just as cool, but our ability to leverage it is just a metric pain. So I took a few swigs of Mountain Dew and said, yeah, let's do this. So that's the crazy path that we're going down. This should... Why are you not... No. Okay. Oh, it's failing to find because I named this stupid thing template as well. Okay. So once you stop being dumb, then it works. What I could use it for. Yeah, and again, this was the people build source generators now, but they build them for generic use cases that are easily reusable in a lot of places. Like the MVVM community toolkit is a wonderful example of it. But I want kind of one-off ones that I can leverage independently, right? And so the other one that I liken this to is this one. So there's analyzers are similar to or to the source generators. Something. This guy here is one of my favorite analyzers, and this is not the right one because this is archived. Where is the... No, this one's probably going to show it off just the same. But this is a way of going through and adding in calls that you want to just ban inside of your projects. And I've actually done something similar where people are interested. Where the idea being that, hey, calling toList on a queryable is probably bad because you've probably just done a synchronous call to a database, right? Let's maybe not allow those things through. And so it allows you to, and the syntax is kind of ugly, but you add a text file for band symbols.txt, and it then goes through, and the analyzer, if it sees any calls to one of these things, the analyzer immediately then propagates out a warning. And I've then promoted those warnings to an error in our project so that no one can leverage these APIs. And so every time I see people do things bad where I'm like, hands off that API, I add it to my banned API analyzer list. And if people need an exception, they can pragma ignore it in line, right? And there's a couple places where we did that. But it then makes it real explicit that in general, you should not be using this. And you can do an exception if you actually want to touch it. Otherwise, it just kind of whacks you upside the head. And that's kind of the premise of what I want here, is some easy way to add a text file, in this case, something like this, to then just auto-gen for me. It's kind of what I'm thinking. So that's... let's see. I set up my own AI agent locally for Visual Studio after the AI credit. No, burn like paper. Yep. It was working. Let's see. It was working okay on my mid hardware. Yeah, if you want to, Society Dog, I'd love to take a look at that. That's actually, there's been a lot of discussion with my colleagues around figuring out what the best approach is, and obviously balancing it with the cost of just buy more tokens, because my employer is willing to pay for tokens as long as there's value add coming out of them. And so we're like figuring out what that means. Yeah. Anita Maxwin, welcome in. Let's see. Hey there, just discovered your channel, read your interesting background. If you don't mind, do you have any advice you could give on somebody who wanted to learn C#? Is there something you would have done differently if you had to start over again? Yeah, Society Dog, I agree with that. And I do suspect, I think I said this months ago, that I am worried that AI is going to make for a bigger gap between things like the hobbyist open source engineer and the enterprise engineer, where they can throw money at a problem. And I'm worried that gap is going to get big. Because before, your hobbyist could go toe to toe with the enterprise engineers as long as they were good engineers, right? That wasn't a big issue. And now it's like, well, one of them has this fancy multi tool that costs a lot of money to use, but it costs a lot of money, so you can't use it. So it's one of those weird situations. Let's see. So Anita, on your question of learning C#, if I could go, the way I got into it, I don't think is a viable option nowadays, because I came into it from a university background doing Java and VB.NET, which that is not a good way with modern stuff to go through and leverage. But yes, if you want to get into C#, there's a handful of resources that I would happily recommend to you, and I can grab them here real quick. So this one here, Essential C#. There's a print copy of this book, but you can see the print copy is C# 12. The web has been updated with more recent content from the language, because every November C# revs to a new version. So if you want a print copy, there's nothing wrong with the book. Just know that it's lacking newer features that have come out in the last couple versions. So just be aware of that. It is intended to start from somebody who knows basically nothing and walk them through learning all of the key functionality. For people who already have a background in programming, I would almost tell you to maybe skim some of the early chapters, because people who already understand a lot of the basics, if you understand something like Java or C, or any of those kind of object-oriented languages, there's a lot of repeats, right? There's some syntactic differences in C#, but all the same concepts apply. So that is, just as a word of warning, it is designed to be written for somebody who doesn't know anything, and could come up with it. The other one that I will happily recommend, there is I believe, the head first C#. Hang on, I need to look. Bum. Are you talking about this guy here? If so, I don't actually know much about this. There's a 5th version. Okay. I don't actually know anything about this particular one, so take that with a grain of salt. I just wanted to see what it gets you up to. Net 9. That's not bad. That's so .NET 10 is latest as of November. And so this would get you up fairly recent, as far as going through and doing it. I don't know anything about this author of this book, though, so I can't say one way or the other, in terms of going through and doing it. So maybe, like, O'Reilly puts out good stuff, so probably. But again, I don't know this title or this author, so I can't really say one way or the other on it. There was th- this one here, I was going to come on, come on. Uh, Yeah, and I like your recommendation, Society Dog. So Tim Corey was definitely another resource that I would highly recommend. He puts out both paid and free courses. So the free stuff is just out um on his YouTube. So you can go and check his stuff out, see if it's a learning style that you like, and if you want to try it out. Um, if you do like it, he does have paid courses that you can buy, and he does have a starting C# course as well. So you can let's see here. Here is the starting C# one. Again, the his paid courses basically fund his YouTube channel where he makes the free content. So um, he'll often tell people the best way to support him is buy one of his courses. So, but again, he puts out a ton of free content on YouTube as far as going through and learning C# and similar. Most of the YouTube ones are focused on specific topics or otherwise, but you will probably come across him as far as any number of topics that you might hit. So, definitely worth checking him out. Like I said, I would check out his YouTubes, see if it's a learning style you like, because what you see there is very similar to what you will see in his lessons as well. So, because everybody kind of learns a little bit differently, find one that works for you. And again, I like Tim. One, he's a good guy. Two, because he puts out so much free content, you kind of get a really good idea of what you're in for just by going through that. And yeah, James Montemagno is another great one. He, I don't know, I don't know that James has like learning C#. For a long time, he was doing mobile related content with Maui and Xamarin. But actually, hang on, I'm checking. He does have a couple things out here of kind of getting started. So it may be worth giving that a try as well. Because he is a great resource. Like I said, he just tends to be maybe not where I would tell people to start if they're just trying to learn C#. The other thing that I would tell you, Anita, is oftentimes when people are going through and learning, one of the best things is have something that you want to build, right? Try not to make it too lofty of a goal, but something small that you would be interested in building, and then work towards that, because having a topic that you're interested in often makes the learning so much easier than a lot of times people's contrived examples. So that would be the other thing that I would say is um, oh, just following him on X. He posts a lot of other sources, learning loads of stuff about C# in general. No, that is a good point. Because he works as I think his title is developer advocate. I think right now, he does like all of the developer advocates from GitHub and Microsoft. You'll see them do a lot of similar stuff of just posting resources. And if you follow one of them, you'll quickly start to follow the rest of them, because they oftentimes will share each other's things as well. So you'll find them very quickly. Because a lot of times what they are sharing is other developer advocates or other people that post great content. So definitely check them out. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Like I said, I would potentially consider starting in one of those veins and then work towards something that you want to be building, because that will always make your life easier. Okay, and now we need template render thingy-mabobber. And the interesting part here is, in order to make this work, I mean, I can just do property name and class name, and this should work just by virtue of it, but it's going to be ugly. Item 1, item 2, right? Like that is ugly. Hopefully we can all agree on that. And then this just becomes all of this result. Yeah. So we generate this source generator that generates a C# file that has the stuff. So this is what we want to output, give or take a little bit. So if that's what we want to output, we take this guy here, and I think I'm going to just return, I mean, for now, maybe I'm just going to string literal my way to victory. Oh. Do I need to actually do, I think I actually need to do this. It's rare that I need to string literal more than one, but I think I need to do it in this case because my other thing contains a string literal. So I need to escape a string literal with a string literal. Because this contains the triple quotes, and I can't have this literal string be triple quotes. It must be 4 quotes. Ooh. Oh, and thank you for the follow, Anita. Appreciate it. Why does it feel like I missed a closing curly brace? Because I missed a closing curly brace. That's why it feels like it. Okay. Let's see. By the way, made one of my projects open source so people can poke at my code. It'll be better if you want people to use your stuff. Yes. In general, I would tend to agree with this. It is, and yes, I did see your tag, Society Dog. Appreciate it. Yeah, it is often nice. People sometimes get weird about posting open source stuff of, oh no, people might, like there's a lot of imposter syndrome of, if people see my code. I think in a lot of cases, people assume that posting open source is going to net like a lot of like negative feedback, but I think more often than not, posting public projects nets no feedback. It's actually more difficult to get feedback than I think people realize, because I post tons of open source projects and oftentimes get very little or no feedback on them ever from people. Occasionally people will drop in and poke at something. It's like, oh, great. And then it kind of ends there. Let's see. This needs to be a private. We'll fix that compile error, and then we just need to inject this here. But I need... Oh, boy. Well, this template here is going to get replaced with that content. So I think I can get away with 2. I'm trying to decide how many $signs I need. I think 2 is good enough for now. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Let's see. GitHub. Like the leet in the name. I assume that's the repo name. Which giveaway trivia bot? Guild Wars 2 streamers. Oh, cool. Sweet. Here. I'll post the link for anybody who wants to poke at it. Cool. Yeah, I'll take a look at it and see how it goes. If I find anything, I'll post an issue back. We're just briefly scanning it. Looks kind of cool. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so that will build that template out. That builds that. I no longer need this direct reference anymore because I've commented that out. So now, if I build this, we're going to get all kinds of, this is where the wackiness is about to start happening. So if I look here, rebuild, now I think I have to, oh, SDK doesn't reference generators yet, so that's a problem. Okay, so now if I rebuild here, that's fine. That's kind of what we expect. And then I rebuild here. System text JSON. What I'm trying to decide is do I expect this generator to make it all the way through? And I don't recall, because I think inside of here, I had to do a little bit of work to make this thing generate properly. And I don't recall, let's see if I look at my T unit ones. Yes. So what did I end up needing to do? Referencing output type analyzer, this is what I was missing. So on the project reference, I need to explicitly bring this back. Reference output assembly, because this says I want to bring it in as a generator. I need to I think I still need this. Okay, so that got me to there, but that doesn't double hop. That doesn't double hop. I might need to still reference it explicitly. Add project reference. I might need to actually reference both. And that might be okay. Might be okay. Because I think this will go, I think that the need for this double reference goes away as soon as I have a NuGet package that packages both things together. I believe. Okay, so now in theory, foo generator did not generate any files. Scribe and source generator did not generate any files. Okay, so that is a problem. Because that means this guy up here. Sudden Apollo? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Okay, script source generator. This guy came in, additional files. But for the additional text provider, I believe we have to ask. There is a property you have to set in the source generators to get these. If I recall correctly. There is... Why do you not... Additional text provider. There we go. Go up to the top where this is first reference. So this... Incremental source generator, implementation, generator attributes, incremental generators. Let's see, the currently available providers are additional text, config, metadata reference providers. Slightly different in syntax value provider. Yep. Makes me wonder if this metadata reference provider could be used on my AutoMocker stuff. That is a research topic for later. I'm not going to get bogged down in that. Yeah. Okay, so let's collect. Because let's see. There is, what is it? Text value provider. Yep. There is a config value I am fairly confident that needs to be set so that it picks it up. Additional text provider. Because without setting it to something, I don't think it actually gets included. If we go here, there is... What is the magical incantation? You documented with it by any chance? Generates included additional text files are typically non-code files. We triggered a new value in the provider. So this seems like it should be coming through here. Okay, time to do the old-fashioned way. Debugger, launch. There's no way this becomes painful at all. By no way, I mean I am absolutely certain this is about to suck. Okay, rebuild. And here we go. And we are going to grab it with this one. And then I actually want to grab it inside of this lambda. So rather than grabbing it here, I'm going to put it down here and then F9 to put maybe F9. Assuming Visual Studio doesn't completely crash on me. For those people unfamiliar with it, normally people are used to setting breakpoints just by clicking to the left of the line numbers. But if you have, say, a line like this where there's a lambda where you actually want to set the breakpoint at a much tighter scope or in a subsection of a line, If you put your cursor where you want it and press F9, assuming Visual Studio does not crash on you, it will set a breakpoint at that scope where your cursor is. And so you can actually set breakpoints subline rather than at whole line. Because if you click left of the line number, the only context you're giving your IDE is the line number, so it just sets it at that line and not maybe inside of a lambda on the line. Okay, what is going on? Or it's very possible Visual Studio just dies on you and it doesn't matter. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, well, we might be just restarting Visual Studio here in a moment, because that seems very plausible. Let's close this down for just a second. Get a couple of these out of here, and then we're going to terminate it, and we will relaunch. And we will see what the... Let's try this again. So take the breakpoint off. I'm going to cancel the design time build that's popping up on my other screen. I'm going to move this lambda down, and I'm going to set my cursor here and then F9 on that. So you can see the breakpoint is now inside the lambda rather than outside. Save that file. Going to intentionally rebuild these projects in the order I want. We'll start with the generator. This MS build is good at figuring things out, but when you're doing meta level stuff like this, it loses its mind. Okay, we will attach debugger to running instance. We are going to F5. And the additional text provider is empty because we never hit our breakpoint. So that explains what is going on. I am fairly confident there is a requirement for adding additional files where you have to ask for them. You actually have to put them in the additional file set. Okay. Okay. So here we will do a, what did they just do? We're going to put them all in this same item group, additional files, and we will do star dot Grabin. Oh, stop it. And then we're going to detach our breakpoint. Come back to here. Put that breakpoint back in. And then if I rebuild this, it should fire again. We'll reattach, and we will continue. Look at this. Now we're actually hitting things. File, and it has a path, and it looks like it's going to do a thing. Great. Continue. Wonderful. So it generated a thing. That is good. The thing it generated did not compile. That is bad. So, stop debugging. Yeah. I do wish to stop debugging. And what we would like to do is if I go here, and I go here, I go here, this got generated. And that's pretty good, aside from the fact that it's missing a couple major things, one of which being a namespace. So that's no bueno. Let's see here. So we'll need to add that into our context, but for now we will do sample app generators, and we'll get that in there. And then if we look at our other error output, I guess rebuild these in order now. Oh, did I just edit it in the wrong place? No, it did the right thing. Okay, so now if I build you, what are your compile errors? Okay, generator attribute could not be found. Oh, so it's missing the same using statement as up here. So it needs all of these added in as well. So you need those guys. So rebuild the generator. And then we are going to rebuild the generator. And what else are you missing? So error list. Let's see, property changes, CS, Microsoft code analysis doesn't exist. So this guy is lacking this. These are two things I think this is one of the reasons why I want to make this project not just a .NET SDK, but I'm thinking I'm going to make my own MS Build SDK so that this stuff can just be automatically handled. Because I think that's a solution that we could. Let's see. Line does not start with the same white space as the closing line of the raw string literal. That's exciting. Property changes g.cs, line 12. Oh, because these are indented incorrectly. That's an interesting problem. And so the reason is because in C#, when you do a string literal, the closing marker actually contains more data than the opening one. So the closing one sets your left edge indent, which in this case is 4 spaces, and the number of quotation marks that need to be matched at the beginning one. Because I just read the file and dumped it in, what's happening is the first indent, the first line is fine, but the file's content is line 1, new line character, line 2. And so once it hits line 2, it's all the way unindented all the way at the other side. So the path of least resistance is to do this for the moment. Because that will then, it won't matter what any indent is. And then actually I should probably unindent that as well. So that's the path of least resistance, is just say, don't have it any amount of indentation. So that should fix that. Okay, so that now generated. So this has now created my foo generator, which is good. The foo generator now works. Now this guy here should have a similar dependency as what this guy does. Of we need to do this, but to this reference. And now ideally what should happen is when the sample app builds, it should pick up the source generator. And round we go. Okay, so sample app view model. We do, okay, so I do want to reference the assembly. So I want that as well. So rebuild from there. Okay, so that went through analyzers. The foo generator is not outputting any files, so it didn't find anything to generate on. So this is going to get real weird real fast, because now we need to debug a source generator that was source generated. So that's exciting, because this is the source generator that I actually want to debug. But let's see, because this is the property changed one. Boy, and this isn't even filtering on the attribute at all. This is just has potential. So it looks for the type declaration with an attributes list. This feels like, yeah, wow, you lost me. Yeah. So this source generator project is reading the scriben file here and generating this source generator with that template as a hard-coded string inside of it. This generator is looking for properties that match the attribute that is in the same project as it, and is using that source generator to hopefully generate out code that looks like the template with the values obviously replaced. So we are source genning a source generator, but for some reason, this source generator, when it was going over the syntax provider, because all this is doing is looking for, oh, this is, okay, I think I see it. I think it's a typing problem. I think I'm an idiot. This is why we declared this down here. Because this is a syntax node. This guy here, I think it's this type check. Property declaration syntax. I think it's wrong. Or is it? Does property declaration syntax derive from syntax node? It must, because the is keyword isn't complaining. It does. Okay. For attribute with metadata name. Fully qualified metadata name. That is the fully qualified name of that, is it not? Source app generators. Property changed attribute. Right? That should be right. Am I missing something? Because ultimately we still need to like check for the attribute and other assorted things. For attribute with metadata name. That's right. Let me check the community toolkit real quick. Because on theirs, nope, I want this guy here. Sure. And that is effectively being used exactly the same way. Uh-oh. Getting past midnight and I'm getting sleepy. Coding gets hard after a certain hour. Um, what am I missing? Is it possibly the target symbol is different? The hard part is trying to put a breakpoint into this, but we can certainly do this. Well, we can just do system.diagnostics debugger launch save rebuild and then rebuild should trigger the debugger. She goes. Okay. So now the question is, are we getting to here or not? Visual Studio, if you die on me trying to set a breakpoint, I'm going to be a little annoyed. I'm just trying to set breakpoints. I realize I'm being bad and doing a source gen of a source gen, but it really doesn't seem happy doing this inside of source gen files. I want to look at these things here. I don't know how to set the breakpoints. I think Visual Studio is going to die on me again. Dang nabbit. Visual Studio, you are not making me have a good night. Okay. Well, let's start with the obvious thing. I need to open this repository. And it is going to be here. We're going to stage all these changes because we actually have something mildly working. I mean, we've got a source generator generating a source generator with a small template engine built on top of it. Okay. Um, Ooh, this pre-compilation source generation might be interesting. Because we can, in theory, use that to generate our attribute that then could be consumed. That could be a cool thing. Yeah, let's see. Visual Studio says a lot of dying on me the last 6 months when compiling. It's gotten better. But if you did loads of Copilot, it often crashes. Yeah, I'd like there is something up. Well, I want to get this committed before I get too carried away and pushed. So that is up. But I think I may end up calling it for tonight. I do want to come back to this because my goal with doing this is it allows for like right now I want it for these arbitrary one-off template style generators, but because the inputs to these aren't regular, like these source generators aren't acting on regular C# compilation files, which means I could theoretically leverage these to do, say, XAML based output, right? It's not quite the same, and I need to double check because the XAML compilation fires earlier in the build process because XAML often outputs BAML because in the MS build logs you'll see the XAML compilation happened first, and the results of that get fed into the C# compiler, which is where the source generators end up getting run. With that said, I do think that there is some fun potential hooks and opportunities there if I build my own MS Build SDK. Yeah, pretty sure Mad's team knows this and is working on it. I agree that they know about it. The thing that I don't, and maybe I'll ask Mads. I think I've got a meeting with the Visual Studio team coming up, and maybe I will ask specifically about it. I think the generator that they are working on is not going to be something for WPF, because part of the issue with the WPF source generation is where that markdown compilation happens. Things like WinUI 3 don't have the weird double pass markdown stuff that WPF has with its BAML. So it's the I suspect if they're working on something, it's not going to support older WPF style things. So we shall see. We shall see though. But again, with my own MS Build SDK, I would be able to inject myself at whatever stage of the process I wanted, and I could do more fun things. So I think there's some cool tricks that could happen there where the generator of generators gets an opportunity to do some fun stuff. Um, before you're going to bed, how's the dog doing? She is doing mostly well, mostly well. Um, we have been training every day. We've got a good sit, a good lay, a reasonable stay. We're working on it. She is not good with staying once I walk out of sight. Um, she at first was incredibly quiet. She has found her voice a little bit. She only barks when there's a reason, which is fine. It's just sometimes the reason is I see a squirrel or I see an animal, and we have a lot of animals around. So there's there's always a reason. It's just we're working on what reasons are worth barking at and which ones aren't. Because I see a squirrel, especially if the squirrel's across the street, I don't care. Like that's not a good reason. So that one we are working on. But um, and this morning she actually I was leaving on my motorcycle to head to work, and we had put in an invisible fence. And I do not know how or why she tempted it, but I had gotten maybe 200 feet from my house, and I was at the very first stop sign, and then she runs in front of me, and I went, "What?" I was very confused for a minute. Thankfully, I turned around, gave her a quick whistle, and she followed me all the way back. Like she's remarkably obedient. She knows when she's done wrong, and she will just. But it's like she knows what obedience is supposed to be, and just instinctively wants to do it. Um, she's been sleeping in her crate at night, and I accidentally didn't latch the crate closed last night, and so her crate door was open all night long, and she didn't get out of her crate. She stayed in there all night. She's like, nope, I'm not going to go explore the house, which she's mostly been outside. She hasn't really explored the house at all. And despite being in a crate where the door was wide open, she just laid there all night until I called her out this morning. So she's doing good. She has been an absolutely amazing dog. So I cannot complain at all. And she's training well. Yeah, it's her safe spot. Yeah, and that's what we've been shooting for. We built her a small dog. I don't want to call it a dog house. So my house has a little. It's like an outdoor cabinet, I guess, where you might store like firewood or similar. And so we've turned that into a little doggy house for her. That way she's got a spot with her extra bed and some toys and whatnot, and we can close it off with both just a regular doggy gate or an actual close the whole door in. With she's still got breathing air and whatnot, but it gives her a way of having a warmer spot if it gets a little colder. So she's got an outdoor doggy house area as well that she's been slowly enjoying. So, but yes, thank you for asking. She's been a lot of fun. I will say I did do one other thing because I should pull this up. Because what does someone do when they have? I'm going to just really quickly move this so it's not exactly on my There. Because otherwise, so I built myself, just show this to people real quick. Because what does one do when one gets a dog? One builds a website. So I built a tiny little website that, so she is microchipped. The Humane Society we got her from had already done that. But most people don't have microchip readers unless you take them to a vet or something. And so I got a little RFID tag. And then in addition to putting the URL in the RFID, I also printed a QR code and hooked that to the tag as well. That takes people to this website where when you launch it, and I will say I have moved the pin so it's not on my actual location. When you launch it, it prompts for location permissions, and then we'll give a lat long, and then people can go through and send reports. So if she ever does get out, in theory, like this morning, if she does get out and go anywhere and somebody finds her, hopefully they will scan that and then send a report, and it will capture their location, and then I can go drive up to wherever she is. So, and there's the cute little puppy of her being all sweet. Because yeah, that's what she loves to do. So yes. So I built a little, and if people are interested, I not like it's hidden source. I can share the source with it. So if anybody wants the repo, there's the repo hosting it. So if you too would like your own little doggy tracker, there you go. It's a very simplistic little thing. Obviously, if you do clone it and do anything fancy, you got to change the secrets to your Azure subscription and whatnot, because I've got all of my secrets plugged into my repo, and any forks will obviously not have those secrets, and so you will need to plug them in and make them your values. So, but yeah, a neat little app, and then there's a little login admin page that's tied to an AD group, and poof, off to the races. So yeah, it was definitely a little toy app for the fun of building it, but it was like, you know what, this is also mildly practical as well, just to show off, hey, I can build a little app, I can do some location tracking, and then it's, a one-way street where people can submit reports if they need to. So, but with that, I think I'm going to crash, maybe poke at this source generator thing a little bit more and see what I can come up with. Because again, I've got some use cases where I really, really, really want it, because I'm having to duplicate a bunch of code, and I just don't want to do that. So, but thank you for coming and hanging out. I appreciate all the new chatters. Society Dog, I appreciate the ping on X. I will go and check out that linked post. And as always, happy coding. See everyone next time.